Peugeot's new 206 Mini MPV is here and brings extra space and capacity to the UK's best-selling car, but is it enough to keep the top spot? Lamborghini's latest takes on the Nardo test track in difficult conditions and still sets 3 new speed records in little more than a single very fast hour. The Mitsubishi Pajero mixes rally-winning performance with SUV versatility and new heartbeat styling. Is this the crossover that defines the segment? From show cars to production cars, from 60 mph flat out to over 240 flat out, we've got a little quick-fire collection. Whatever they might say in public, in private, Peugeot can hardly have expected the 206 to have been such a big success. It was the best-selling car of any kind in the UK last year and continues to do well in the sales charts. That's mostly thanks to its cute good looks and some excellent deals being offered at the showroom, making it a very attractive proposition to the private buyers who make up the bulk of its purchasers. On the face of it, they're seeing a car that's got good specification, low down in the range, a wide choice of engines and some nice add-on features in the option list. And on top of those stylish and dramatic lines comes a brand image that's hard to beat at any price. Buy yourself any 206 and you're buying the charisma of a little car that looks even better in race and rally trim and is on the way to becoming the car to have in the demanding motorsport arena. Of course, it's on the World Rally Championship that the reputation has been forged, and Peugeot Sport were delighted to be working with a car that seemed to be designed for the purpose, even though it was small. But it didn't take long to claim a World Championship in the hands of Marcus Gronholm in the 2000 season, and though last year went the way of Subaru, this season, once again, the little Peugeot is setting the pace and looking very hard to beat on the tough rally stages. As we keep saying, this is the best form of advertising, with look-alike cars doing glamorous deeds which are well followed up with success advertising. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday, and it's clearly true. The glitz of the world stages has percolated down to national competition as well, with look-alike cars available at sensible prices to up-and-coming young drivers, all adding extra weight to the brand image and making a contribution to the sport as well.
The Cup's basically a starter for joining rallying, or for the ambitious people who've got a little bit of experience to progress in the sport. But you can come along right from the start of the season with virtually no experience at all, get your licence, come and play, and you could end up as a works driver the following year if you win the championship.
That's the background of success which has tracked the 206 since launch, and yet on the roads and in the road tests, all is not quite as glamorous as it seemed. Hence, the latest versions from Peugeot, with a GTI coming soon to capitalise on all that sport success, and this car, the 206 SW, due to counter one of the big criticisms of the existing model, the cramped rear seats and the overall lack of space in the back. Not that there have been widespread complaints, because this sort of thing only becomes really noticeable when you compare the 206 with its rivals, the once class-leading Ford Fiesta, for example, the excellent Fiat Punto, the VW Polo, and of course the MPV lookalike Honda Jazz. So now there's this, a bigger 206 as well. With a long rear overhang, the Mini MPV version of the 206 has almost a third as much space again as the regular hatchback, and features a rear window which can be opened without lifting the tailgate, adding convenience as well. Extra height means extra rear seat headroom, and there's a good chance that this will boost 206 sales even higher. We saw it first on the Supercar Rally, but most people saw it here on the stand in Detroit. The new, cleaner-looking Lamborghini Murcielago, the Devil Tamed in appearance, though its speed and performance figures told a rather different story, and this latest Lamborghini continues a proud tradition. The trouble was, the Diablo looked the part. A sort of toned-down Countach, it was still a prowling shape, full of muscle-bound bulges and curves, a wicked rear aspect full of gaping intakes and looming spoiler. It looked hungry and dangerous, and yet its road manners were the equal of its hugely powerful V12 engine. Beyond the psychological limits of anyone likely to drive it was one quote, but of course that didn't take into account the mental state of anyone likely to take it racing. As the basis of a spectacular one-make series, the Diablo attracted the attention and the wallets of people wealthy enough to play racing drivers at the weekends, and the results were as damaging and expensive as they were predictable.
The world of brain beats.
Now there's Murcielago, a Countach for the new millennium, all minimal curves and vegetarian quiche, where the Diablo was a six-pack with kebabs. But yet again, that's only on the outside. Under the skin, it's a full-blooded sports car, and Lamborghini is still the only major manufacturer with a proper supercar in series production. And before you say 575, let me tell you at once the engine's in the wrong place, and it's a GT. But to prove the point, Lamborghini decided to take Murcielago to the racetrack and challenge for a handful of world records. And rather than take a prototype or a special, they took instead a series production model straight from the production line. And why not? 6.2 litres of quad-cam V12, 585 horsepower, a quoted top speed of 205 miles an hour, and permanent four-wheel drive. The Murcielago has all the qualifications for record-breaking performance as it stands in the showroom. It also comes loaded with all the hand-finished and leather-bound goodies and comfort features that people spending around $250,000 expect from their cars. And that makes it a little top-heavy perhaps, but the object of this exercise is to show what the standard car can do. Not even the fuel filler can be modified, and the filling mechanism has to be standard pump gas from a standard pump, and there will be fuel stops, although the weather for the test was far from ideal. In fact, it was almost bad enough to cancel the attempt even here in the south of Italy. Even if you're not Italian, the high-speed bowl at Nardo is the only place to run at sustained high speed, and Lamborghini test driver Giorgio Sanna has been here before. Lucky, because the high winds were very much on the limit, and it was only Lamborghini's faith in the stability of their car and the ability of their test driver which permitted the test to go ahead at all. Even so, there was no endurance running considered, and that had been one of the objectives of the test. Lamborghini say they'll be back for more later, but in the meantime, this run was limited to 25 laps late in the evening. That was enough running to challenge for a handful of significant records, and the Murcielago set off from a standing start as the rules require. Standstill to 60 miles an hour is less than 4 seconds in this car, so it was up to speed quickly enough to be well on course for record-setting times despite the strong winds. Four-wheel drive helps, but the Lamborghini was designed to be driven at 200 miles an hour, not just to reach it. And that inherent stability made it possible to sustain flat-out laps for the next hour and more. The first record to fall was the 100-kilometre speed record for production cars. 18 minutes and 44 seconds into the attempt, the Murcielago passed 100 k's at an average of 198.9 miles an hour. 12 minutes later, it was still averaging 198.9 miles an hour as it clicked off the 100-mile speed record for production cars, but its fuel stop was by now imminent, pulling in and waiting for the pump gas to trickle into the tank and then re-accelerating definitely added a handicap to the Murcielago's average, but 30 minutes later it was down to 198.7 miles an hour because of the stop, still good enough to claim the 1-hour speed record for production cars. Bad weather meant that was how it had to end for Lamborghini, for the Murcielago and for the test drivers. Sadly, that was the end of the evening. We won't be breaking any more records today, but we do have a great deal more to get through, including our predicted rebirth of the BMW CSL. BMW, Skoda, Matra and Koenigsegg still to come, but first, Mitsubishi's new Pajero Evo, an SUV for the desert. This was the previous Evo version of Mitsubishi's off-roader, not the big comfy four-wheel drive you might use for the school run, but a close-to-competition vehicle that's really just a Paris-Dakar winner with added windows. 3.5 litres of V6 deliver 260 horsepower, and the road version obviously doesn't need the inlet restrictor fitted to the competition vehicles, so it can achieve similar numbers from a lower and more reliable state of tune. But top speed's no good in cross-country rallying without an effective four-wheel drive system and a bucket load of torque, and the Evo has it all. Now there's Evo 2, or rather 2+2, because it's an evolution of last year's concept car that was itself an evolution of the Evo. All clear so far? In brief, Evo 2+2 adds an extra pair of seats to the concept car first shown at Geneva last year as Pajero Evo 2 and has been dubbed the 2+2, underlining the marketing aim of a car that's based on a proven winner but is intended to sell to buyers who will never use it for anything more aggressive than the car park of their local gardening centre. Just the same, Mitsubishi talk about it as an extreme urban SUV. At the same time, are quick to point out that it's not as extreme as Evo 2. Just pure passion and enthusiasm, that one, say Mitsubishi. But this one has been designed with a bit more of the production line in its future. Less concept, more common sense, in other words. Always assuming you can have a common sense attitude to almost 5 litres of V8 engine, driving all four wheels and packed with just about every electronic gizmo the actual competition cars use, including active differentials and active yaw control. We've seen so many SUV crossover type vehicles at shows now that they're almost commonplace. But as we've said many times before, it's a formula that every manufacturer seems to believe will solve the marketing dilemma on a single platform, if not within a single model range. Get the mix right, the correct combination of styling and appearance, of space and capability, of real versatility and effectiveness. Get the package right, in other words, and the global market is yours. Always assuming that there is a single solution. We're not so sure, because in the end we believe that not only are all people different, not only are their needs all different, but they also need to be different from each other. So they all want different cars, and long may that continue. Given that there will never be just one solution to global motoring needs, the current glut of crossovers means that there must soon be a production vehicle that combines all-wheel drive, good off-road capability and a luxury interior, and the latest Pajero might be it. First shown as a finished car almost 2 years ago, the Koenigsegg CC claims the title as the world's fastest production car from McLaren. 240 miles an hour, it says on the specification, but quite where you could prove it other than Nardo is somewhat questionable. No questions about the looks though. The detachable hard top looks as good on or off. The carbon fibre body is shaped as elegantly as anything else available, and with a carbon tub to hang it on, the CC weighs in at little more than 1,100 kilos, which is race car light and one of the reasons for its race car performance. 650 horsepower from that mid-mounted V8 is the other, and together they give you 60 miles an hour from standstill in less than 3 seconds, which is all a bit academic but certainly fast enough. So much so that 3 days of driving tuition is included in the price, and if you have to ask, Matra's M72 car or motorcycle hybrid fits in the other end of the market and is designed to appeal to young drivers in search of independence and older ones who'd like to keep it. An aluminium chassis with a plastic body has changeable panels, a mid-mounted 750cc engine with automatic gears, and it can shift the lightweight 2-seater up to about 60 miles an hour. If there's a market, and this wasn't its first car show, remember, and there's no sign of a mad stampede so far, then Matra will go for production with distribution through its long-standing relationship with Renault. New livery at Geneva this year signifies the production version though, and Matra say that production is now imminent. We all know that the only thing wrong with modern Skodas is the badge on the bonnet, and yet this now excellent range of cars still hasn't achieved the success it deserves, even at the economy end of the market, where the new Fabia truly excels against cars like the Peugeot 206. So, what chance this car at the more expensive end of the medium saloon range? Piled high with toys and specifications up to its luxurious headlining and beyond, we all know the Skoda Superb is really a Volkswagen in a very thin disguise. But sadly, that disguise doesn't quite conceal its Eastern European roots, and that's almost certain to discourage more buyers than its price can attract. But perhaps this will go some way to changing that. The Skoda Tudor is a design study based on the big Superb, a 4-seat coupe that echoes current design trends for big, slab-fronted things with a cut-off tail, which we just don't like, even if that does mean we're only showing our age. And that makes it hard to judge this objectively, because it starts off following a style that never seems to sit well on the road or the motor show stand, no matter which angle you're viewing it from. However, it looks well executed, and it looks like you wouldn't die of shock if it appeared in the car park space next to yours tomorrow, which it could easily do, as it's just sheet metal changes to an existing model. But there are no plans for this one to make it into production, according to Skoda. It was just an exercise designed, it says here, to show the passion and creativity that Skoda brings to the production of new cars. Are we allowed to say that we think it falls somewhat short of the passion which has created some of the other show cars we've seen around in the last couple of seasons? On the other hand, we do appreciate it was limited by the materials Skoda had to work with and compares well enough with similarly based vehicles, but it's still got that badge. OK, we like the 3 Series BMW and think it yet another class benchmark, along with that set by its bigger 5 Series brother higher up the range. And like most people, we love the M3, an automotive touchstone that combines refined excellence with breathtaking performance and agility. So excuse us while we leave the room clutching a wad of hard-earned cash, because we're off to our BMW dealer very fast, hoping to be among the lucky 500 people whose money will be accepted as a deposit on this car, now going into production and available in about 12 months from now. This being not just a 3 Series nor even an M-Power 3, but an M3 CSL, reviving a badge last seen 25 years ago on an elegant coupe, but now representing a bit of a rethink on the existing 3. The show car we saw in Frankfurt last year was around 200 kilos lighter than the regular M3, but the production version will have lost only about half of that figure, as well as gaining an extra few horsepower, 7 to be exact. That, say BMW, crops 0.2 of a second from its 0 to 60 time, but as we all know, that's a weather, road surface, tyre type and driver ability dependent figure at the best of times. So it's unlikely that you'd ever know, still less be able to reproduce it on a repetitive basis. A tweak to the suspension gives you more feel, and nice new 18-inch wheels are nice. Does it all add up to an extra £3,000 on the price? Yes, it does, because that's what you'll have to pay to get one. But rumour says only 500 will be available in the UK in right-hand drive form, so it'll probably be worth it here. But in Europe, a limited production run might not be limited enough.